everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of the Six Yards podcast. It's been a while since we recorded. I have Naveen, who is a Manchester City fan, on today's podcast, and we'll be discussing City's 18th win in a row. They just have defeated Arsenal, unfortunately, 1-0 win at the Emirates, and we'll be kind of focusing our energies towards discussing Manchester City's wonderful run of form. Hey, Naveen, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, hi Supreet. Good to be back.
Yeah. So 18 wins. I think the last match that City did not win was sometime in 2005, if I'm correct.
Yeah, seems like a long time. Hopefully this run continues, and yeah, I mean, honestly, not much to complain. Not only about the Premier League, but City in general. Uh, Great form, and hope we can continue with the
Hmm.
current set of
Yeah.
players and lack of injuries. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the last match that I remember City dropped points was against West Brom. I
Yes.
think it was a 1-1 draw
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
And since then, it seems like the whole league's gone topsy turvy, right? Even Arsenal have some of started winning. Obviously not yesterday, but Liverpool have lost like what 4 games on the trot.
Yes.
Everton are suddenly winning. Everton and West Ham are suddenly rising up in the table from nowhere.
Yeah.
There's Leicester City as well. United have been in and out. So I mean, it's been that sort of a season where I think it's quite clear that City, I mean, have already got one hand on the title, right? I don't think there's any way any team right now can match that sort of form or that sort of lead that City already have at the top of the table.
So true. The lead currently, say in the month of Feb, it's around almost 10 points, if I'm not wrong. And but the thing is, 2 years ago, Liverpool had the same lead in the month of February, which was 10 points, and they eventually lost to City by 1 point.
Hmm.
So, and considering the way this season has been in the for the Premier League, I wouldn't be overly confident about winning it. For now itself, but a few more games and we'll be very clear if City are comfortably winning the league. But as of now, I would still have some caution in my mind because we have done the same with Liverpool when they were 10 points ahead. So may not be Liverpool this season, but could be
Yeah.
say United,
Yeah.
or you never know, West Ham or Leicester. So that is there. But considering why suddenly everything changed post West Brom, so I mean, we had discussed a lot during the start of the season that it would eventually be about Pep finding out the right set of players, the right formation, and the way he wants to
Hmm.
play this season. I think
Yeah.
he's figured it out pretty well. It's also very clearly evident from his press conferences, the way he interacts with the reporters. And City currently, sure,
Yeah.
in a very sorted position, if I may say so. So yeah, it is ours to lose. I understand, but a word of caution because we have done it previously with Liverpool. So
So you bring out a very interesting point. You know, City actually had a very funny start to the season. I mean, there was at home. I mean, you got literally thrashed at home by Leicester,
yes,
and there was that away loss to Tottenham. So I mean, I think it was just a matter of time before Pep found that momentum with the team,
true,
right? But
true.
in general, what has changed? I know there have been some injuries for Aguero, De Bruyne, players coming in and out. But I think something changed in December, right? City have not looked back. What do you think that that X factor? Where did that X factor come from?
It's also got to, as I said, it's got to do with Pep and his team figuring out how to play with the current set of players with injuries and probably without a striker.
Hmm.
And sadly, that is one of the reasons we nowadays don't even
Hmm.
see Jesus and Aguero starting at times because we have set up a system in such a way that we don't need a striker for
Yeah.
now. And also, I mean, from what I have read,
True.
senior players actually, stepping up even in the dressing room and encouraging other players. For example, Fernandinho did the same after West Brom's draw. So there have been a lot of factors, and eventually it is helping us. And I hope it continues. I mean, the players look motivated now. Uh, they have that mentality of not losing even a single game, and it's great to watch, honestly.
Yeah. And surprisingly, you mentioned, you don't need a striker, but I mean, Ilkay Gundogan of all players has suddenly emerged like the top scorer for City. I think he scored 11 goals this season,
True.
and he isn't even playing up front. He's playing somewhat centrally, a little towards the left.
Correct.
Uh, playing in those pockets with De Bruyne,
Yeah.
a little bit with Fernandinho. He's not even your typical attacking midfielder.
No, no. Yeah.
He scored more goals than Sterling, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, do you think it? I mean, this popular Spanish system of you play with 6 or 7 midfielders, and all of
Yeah.
them. I mean, any of them you just keep interchanging, and one of them scores a goal, right? Eventually, is that the tactic that I think is what City is modeled on? I think the earlier Barcelona teams, highly technical teams, used to be
Yeah.
modeled upon. Is that where it is kind of seeing his team over at least for the next couple of seasons?
I'm not sure about the next couple of seasons to be precise, but as of now, at least for this season, where we do not have a completely fit Aguero, and Jesus is good, but again, he had his time during injury. So we basically end up playing 3 to 5 most of the days. Yeah, but it's definitely suiting us, and that's what Pep has finally figured out how to play with without strikers. And I think it is going to continue for the rest of the season, and it may help us even in the Champions League.
Yeah, and where do you see your Champions League challenge going on this time? You've got Mönchengladbach in midweek. It's going to be the away leg first,
Yeah,
but post that it's open to everyone, right? You could draw Bayern, you could draw anyone in the competition.
correct, correct.
How do you think City will fare this season? Do you think City has a squad? Do they have the legs, especially this season where the season has been the season started late. There wasn't much of a break again.
Yeah.
There's FA Cup matches as well. City have a League Cup final. Um, on how many fronts do you think City can continue challenging? I mean, let's start with the Champions League first,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can talk about the other competitions.
Uh, Champions League, honestly, it would be a wait and watch at least till we reach the next stage and see how other teams are playing. Because sure, I mean, City have been great in the Premier League, but they have always somehow faltered in the Champions League. So honestly, it would be better to take one tie at a time as far as Champions League is concerned, and we'll also see which teams actually progress to the next stage. So nothing to predict as such.
Yeah.
If City would win the Champions League, too hard to predict that, and it's better we take it one tie at a time. And as you mentioned, various factors like uh, even more games, it would be the business end in the Premier League also at that time, and we are also playing in the Carabao Cup, which is our main cup, actually. So yeah, too many things, and it's better we take it one game at a time.
I think what stood out for me is the fact that City really don't need to rely on De Bruyne's magic anymore,
True, true.
um,
Yeah,
because there are players who kind of. I mean, I think De Bruyne stood out last season primarily because it felt like he was the one that was taking it to Liverpool. Leading City's charge at least for the title, even though they faltered towards the end.
correct.
And it's and this season, even though he's not been as influential, City have still found a way to unlock doors, and I think that's going to take them very far this season. Obviously, there's a tough FA Cup game against Everton.
Hmm.
There's a Carling Cup final the Carabao Cup final against Spurs,
Yeah,
and all of these will come at a very hectic period of time, right?
true, true.
Towards the latter end of March, which is when you'll also have your second leg against Mönchengladbach. Um, any concerns around fitness and how and I mean Pep has been known to surprise people with his squads at times.
Yeah.
How much do you think he's going to rotate around for all of these competitions?
So considering except Ake, we don't have any injuries for now. Uh, the bench strength looks at
Yeah.
times, even better than the starting 11. Uh, so there is going to be a lot of rotation, especially for the FA Cup and the Champions League. We'll actually come to know in this midweek itself. But yes, it's going to be very important about how he manages the players, and if no more players get injured, we should be at least in a good position to go for all the four cups.
Right. Thanks, Naveen. That was some good insight on City. Looking forward to how the season is going to pan out for
Yeah,
Pep and his men. So yeah, let's move to Arsenal.
yeah,
We talked just before our recording, and I think you had a few points. So let's bring it on.
yeah. So basically, I wanted to understand if you were really happy with the starting 11, because I think Ateta, as expected though, went for a slightly conservative starting 11. Would you change someone and maybe attack a bit more?
Um, Honestly, I was a bit surprised with with the centre back decision, um, because I thought we would start with David Luiz. Luiz has been playing pretty well over the last few games, but I think, to be very honest, I think Arteta knows that the City game is more of, it is a tough game. I don't think we really went into the game expecting a result. So I think that's the reason why we kept Luis on the bench with one eye on the second leg against Benfica that's coming up in midweek. But apart from that, in midfield, we started with Elneny and Xhaka. I would have preferred to see Ceballos start, because Elneny is a very safe backwards passing option. But to be honest, I think that would have left us a lot more open. Ceballos is not. Ceballos can direct play a little bit, but he's not the most. He's not the best at keeping possession, right? Not like that would have mattered yesterday, but I think Elneny offered that little more stability in midfield. Uh, I would have liked to see Smith Rowe start, uh, and we started with Odegaard. Odegaard is still, I think, too new to the league, and City is too hard a challenge. Very early in your Premier League career. So, and apart from that, we started with Pepe on the right. I think City dealt with him quite easily. Our other options were either you play Willian or Martinelli. So Pepe was not a bad choice. So overall, I think it was not a bad. It was not bad squad selection considering that we have important game coming up. So let's see. It depends on how our second leg against Benfica goes. Um, I think the result yesterday was not complete indication of how the manager's tactics were or whether they were negative. I think it was more of a I think the decisions are purely taken keeping one eye on the Europa League tie.
Now, regarding Arsenal, I think they are 10th currently in the table. Uh,
Hmm.
since we are almost reaching the business end of the Premier League, where do you see Arsenal finishing eventually?
Thanks for reminding me, Naveen. Honestly, it's very difficult for us to finish in the top seven. I feel Aston Villa have got games in hand, and
Yeah.
our fixtures don't get any easier. We still got to play. I think we still have Liverpool. We still have Spurs. Um, I think I would be satisfied with an eighth place finish, eighth or ninth, and your Europa League, being very optimistic here. We
Okay.
still have Benfica to get past, and Benfica is not a easy opposition. So yeah, optimistically speaking, I hope we can finish eighth or ninth and win the Europa League to at least be playing in the same competition next season. But speaking very realistically, I think we will finish somewhere between eighth and tenth. I'm assuming
Hmm.
somewhere. I'm hoping it's eighth, but I think we'll fall short in the Europa League. I think we'll get knocked out sometime in the quarterfinal stage or the semi-final stage.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And so, speaking about some new players, what are your first impressions about Odegaard? And do you see Arsenal going for some new signings in the summer?
I think Odegaard. So far he doesn't look very different from what Ceballos has been playing for us so far. I would have honestly preferred to see Smith Rowe playing a lot more, but I think it's too. I mean, I don't want Arsenal to put such a young player uh, under so much pressure so early, right? So I
Hmm.
think that's where Odegaard has come in as more of like an additional uh, resource in midfield. But I think signing him on a long-term contract is going to be out of our budget. So I cannot see us actually signing him on a permanent deal. But when it comes to the end of the season, I think there's going to be a couple of more players that will probably move out. I'm hoping we tear up Williams' contract or something. But apart from that, I think that there are going to be a few changes, right? And honestly, I don't know at this point who we are going to target, given our chances. Our chances of qualifying into the Champions League look, non-existent,
True, true,
and our chances for qualifying into the Europa League are actually quite bad. Right? Looking at how the season has gone so far, so it's too early to actually say or predict what kind of players we're going to sign. But I think we definitely need some reinforcements in midfield, in attack, at least in attacking midfield, because beyond a couple of youngsters, we really don't have any personnel over there, right?
true. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, that's it from my end actually.
All right, thanks, Naveen.
Yeah, thanks, Supreet.
Always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Same.